Genesis chapter 9, the message. God blessed Noah and his sons. He said, "Prosper, reproduce, fill the earth. Every living creature, birds, animals, fish, will fall under your spell and be afraid of you. You're responsible for them. All living creatures are yours for food, just as I gave you the plants. Now I give you everything else except for meat with its lifeblood still in it. Don't eat that. But your own lifeblood I will avenge. I will avenge it against both animals and other humans. Whoever sheds human blood by humans, let his blood be shed. Because God made humans in his image, reflecting God's very nature, you're here to bear fruit, reproduce, lavish life on the earth, live bountifully." Then God spoke to Noah and his sons, "I'm setting up my covenant with you, including your children who will come after you, along with everything alive around you, birds, farm animals, wild animals that came out of the ship with you. I'm setting up my covenant with you that never again will every living being be destroyed by floodwaters. No, never again will a flood destroy the earth." God continued, "This is the sign of the covenant I'm making between you, me and you, and every living thing around you, and everyone living after you. I'm putting my rainbow in the clouds, a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. From now on, when I form a cloud over the earth, the rainbow appears in the cloud. I remember my covenant between me and you and every living thing, that never again will floodwaters destroy all life. When the rainbow appears in a cloud, I will see it and remember the eternal covenant between God and everything living, every last living creature on earth." And God said, "This is a sign of the covenant that I have set up between me and everything living on the earth." The sons of Noah who came out of the ship were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah. From these three, the whole earth was populated. Noah, a farmer, was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank from its wine, got drunk, passed out, naked in his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and told his two brothers who were outside the tent. Shem and Japheth took a cloak, held it between them from their shoulders, walked backwards, and covered their father's nakedness, keeping their faces turned away so that they did not see their father's exposed body. When Noah woke up with his hangover, he learned what his youngest son had done. He said, "Cursed be Canaan, a slave of slaves, a slave to his brothers. Blessed be God, the God of Shem, but Canaan shall be his slave." God prospered Japheth, living spaciously in the tents of Shem, but Canaan shall be his slave. Noah lived another 350 years following the flood. He lived a total of 950 years, and he died. Okay, so this version, I just read the King James Version just before this, and I was wondering about the beginning. The first few verses were, I think it's 1 through 5-ish. No, 1 through 7, maybe. Just about the blood of an animal. You're not meant to eat blood, like, you have your steak rare, whatever, medium rare, whatever, where there's a little blood. You're not really supposed to do that, because it's like the life of the animal or something. It's just kind of a violation spiritually to do it, which probably means you're violating your body in some way. Also says, the living creatures are yours for food, just as I gave you the plants. Now I give you everything else. Were they vegetarians before this? I'm just so curious about that. What were they eating before this? Were they not eating animals? Were they vegetarians up until this point, until the flood had happened? Then we became carnivores? And, herbivores? What happened? It's just me thinking, If you have any answers, please do leave them in the comment section or whatever, if you see it differently, even how it's being interpreted. I just would love to hear it if you want to share. Definitely he's saying whoever sheds human blood, this is verse 6 and 7, whoever sheds human blood by humans, let his blood be shed. So it's like, do unto others as you want done unto you. If you murder, you might be murdered. There's something real sacred. It says, because God made humans in his image, reflecting God's very nature. Something about how sacred we must be. Our blood must be more sacred than any animal's blood. Because we're made in God's image, it says his very nature. And as in a gist, it seems as though you're not. Just murder is bad, which is a given. We know that. But there's so much more about it. I think in the spiritual realm that spilling the person's blood does. It's not just taking somebody out of this world, but there's just something about the blood, their blood being spilled, which kind of makes me think about Jesus' blood being spilled and the power in it. Food for thought. Again, the covenant's there. Noah and his sons. God's establishing the covenant never to flood again. And the symbol of it is the rainbow and the cloud. And it's there as a keepsake, as a reminder of this time period and this promise to us and to him as a keepsake, of this time. That once there was a time, where the whole world was flooded and everything was reset except for one man and his family and the animals, the land animals that he took. And, he's saying he's never going to do that again as long as earth remains. Keep that in mind. That's the last chapter. As long as earth lasts. So there will be an end eventually. But he's not going to end it like this. He's not going to do this ever again, flood the whole world where there's just one family left. He's not going to do that. And this was his promise, his covenant, saying that that's just not how it's going to go anymore. Because who knows, that might have really hurt him. I think it probably did. The fact that he basically had to start the whole world over, and all those people, all those souls, they died. Everything died. His creations and his children, that unfortunately all the wickedness in their heart, that already broke his heart. Now they're dead. He had to wipe them out. Who knows what happened to them after that? Their souls, like what happened to them after death? I can only imagine that God doesn't want to do that ever again, not just for our sake, but what did it make him feel to have to do that because of what we decided to harvest out of our hearts? So, it's not just him promising us, like, I'm never going to do it. It affected him. So it seems. So he makes this covenant, and there's the end where Noah, he's a farmer now. He's got his vineyard. He was the first to plant it, it says. He's the first one to have one. So he discovered wine, and he was drinking. And I don't know exactly what happened, because alcohol can be a funny thing. I don't really support drinking alcohol these days. It's just not a good idea. And so he drinks, and he gets drunk, and he passes out, and his son, his youngest son, Ham, finds him, and he tells his brothers, who knows, hey guys, my dad's, guys, look at dad, he's this, he's that, who knows what he's done. It doesn't really get into the context of any of the versions I've read. What he did that was so incredibly wrong, to be cursed in the way that he was, to be a slave or a servant to his brothers and his children, all the way, for forever, basically. Except to say that, he walked in on his father. Maybe that was a surprise to see him that way, but the way maybe he handled it, after he saw him naked, was surprised to see him naked. And then just instead of covering him himself or not, sharing that information, he went out and he's like telling everybody. And, there's not many people in the earth at this time. But he told those who were there, which is his brothers. And his brothers kind of did the right thing. They didn't want to see their naked dad, and they just wanted to just cover that up and forget about it. And that's what they did. Walked backwards with the cloak, put it on him, and walked out of the tent and went about life. And Noah woke up, found out that what was going on, and while he was passed out, and was upset at Ham so much that he cursed him forever in his lineage. And I just want to put it out there. This is the first vineyard and the first drunkenness, so maybe Noah didn't really understand what was wrong with that, because drinking is a spirit. You're consuming a spirit. And I got to be honest, you go to liquor stores or, stores that sell alcohol, and they do say wine and spirits, because they are spirits and they're not good. There's only one good spirit that you can inhabit that isn't of your own, and it's the Holy Spirit. Those spirits in those bottles are not of God, that's for sure. So whatever Noah's doing, in reality, if he hadn't been drunk, none of this would have happened in the first place. But his sin begat more sin from his son, and thus he got cursed. Just a really interesting cycle, because it could have all just not have happened had Noah not had wine in the first place. But I'm not going to blame him. He did what he did. He was in the privacy of his tent, and his son came in, saw it, and I guess kind of put his business out there. And it's just kind of a huge business. He's naked in the tent, and he can't even defend himself. And to have your own kid come in like that, it's just kind of nuts. So I can understand how it could be offensive. Anyway, that is what I got out of this. Noah died at 950 years old. He had a long, long life, just like everybody else, about 1,000 years of life, which is pretty extraordinary for today's time. He lived a really good, full life, and he had a interesting journey with God the entire time. He is a man of God, despite the fact that he farmed and drank wine. He was a good man. He's the man that made us existing at this point possible, because he was a man of God when the whole world was wicked and reset through a massive worldwide flood. He and his righteousness and his faith in God and his relationship of walking with God is what led to us today still sticking around. Also led to that rainbow that you see after the rain and whatnot. I don't know if you've ever seen spectacular rainbows, but I've got a video of a double or triple rainbow in this area that I live from a few years ago. It's just really, really cool. Maybe I'll show it at some point, that rainbow. It was just really pretty. Anyway, that is all for today, and I hope you got something out of it. I pray many, many blessings over you. Leave some comments below if you want, about things that stood out to you in this chapter, chapter 9 of the message. And I pray many blessings over you. God bless your day. I love you. Bye.